Hello, hello. It's Teacher Rebecca here. Today we're going to talk about being pregnant while teaching. Because some of us have done it, some of us haven't. And if you're a guy, you probably never will. Sorry. But you can be there to support somebody who has been. Let's say hello to people in the chat box. We have some friends here today. Kelly, you're first. Excellent. You're listening while waiting for Cambly calls. You might leave abruptly. Well, if you got to go and come back and watch the replay. Students are waiting. You got to be with those students. That's good. Hello, Meredith. Welcome. Thanks for coming by. What? You just finished 8 classes with Cambly? That's fantastic. Um, Long day. I remember teaching 8 classes in a row with a VIP kid back in the day. 4 hours straight, 8 classes straight, and then the very end do like massive feedback. Because sometimes I can't get them all in between. Sometimes I just need that break to go, okay, go back to class. I couldn't keep up with all of that feedback. Do you have to do feedback for Cambly? I can't remember. Uh, Question. Oh, yeah. Were there reservations? The kids. Um, so far, Kelly's only had 1 call, but it's allowed me to work on something else. So that's good. I don't know. I might apply to Cambly because that could be more flexibility to just open up whenever versus having to schedule the classes. With a newborn, it's always hard to know when nap time is. So that might be a good thing for me to add to my arsenal of classes. uh, Meredith says the kids reserved. You do about 20 to 25 a week. Excellent. I know Cambly doesn't pay the best, but it is better than nothing. And it's about average to what other ESL classes are going nowadays, which is like what, $6, $7 a class, something like that. Yeah, give or take. Okay. Oh, wow. I've opened a couple of the prime hours this week, but I haven't opened slots in a year. Yeah, maybe just be consistent. Sometimes the more you open, the more you're in demand. But it's hard sometimes because you're like, how many companies do I want to like save time for? Sometimes they have to be in your back pocket. Hello, Cindy. Welcome, welcome. No feedback with Cambly. Yes, that's one thing that always takes me extra time. Sometimes it takes me longer than others. Sometimes I have at least half the feedback is just like, welcome to class and thanks for coming and I had a great time. So that takes up a lot of characters. And then in the middle part, I actually put individualized stuff. So that helps. But I like having to no feedback. Hello, on our way south. Well, happy trip. Enjoy and be safe. Good, good. Teacher Kelly, it's very flexible. You can jump on whenever. That's the only saving grace with the low pay. That is true. Low pay, but lots of flexibility. Sometimes the ones that are the most pay have the least amount of flexibility, and it's really hard to take time off. There's usually minimum hours. It's harder. So you have to balance it. Do I want the higher pay and the strict stuff, or do I want the lower pay and the flexibility? In Cambly, there are no minimum hours. Excellent. Cindy says, I'm a Cambly tutor, but never taught a class yet. Maybe I will try it before school starts. Yeah, you could try it. I will try it maybe later. I don't know, because my 3rd baby's coming in less than a week. Yeah. So I will have to figure out how to get back into teaching. That's what we're going to talk about today. How to get back into teaching while pregnant, or while you are pregnant, how do you keep up on your teaching, whether it's in brick and mortar or it's online? Because I have done both. Um, so we're going to talk a little bit about that and some memories going back as far as, well, about 6 years ago is when I had my first kid. Uh, so yes, and you low pay, but you get lots of China kids. That's so cool. So cool. Okay, so story time. 6 years ago, back in, well, I guess 2015, I got pregnant with my first daughter. And here I am at week 38 with her. Aw, memories. I had a really good photographer for these maternity pictures. It was really sweet. So that's like a week before I popped. She came at exactly 39 weeks. So she was due middle of May. So she was my brick and mortar girl. I was teaching full-time kindergarten at that time, full day, so 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. every day with the same kids 5 days a week. And so they watched my belly grow and grow and grow because I conceived around September. So it was the entire school year that I was pregnant. So by Christmas time, we found out the gender. And so I came back in January. I said, "It's a girl." So they had fun, talking to a little baby girl in my belly, and so much fun watching these little kindergartners stuff balls in their shirts. Go, "I'm like Miss Fogler. I'm like Mrs. Fogler." I'm like, ha ha ha, ha. And they give birth to the balls. I'm like, whatever. They are 5 and 6. They are having fun. Whatever, just have it pop out the bottom of their shirt. Some people are like, "No, don't let them do that." I'm like, what's the harm in that? Whatever. If they want to have a big belly, sure, whatever. uh, so I told my principal that when the baby comes in May, I'm going to stop and I'm going to start my maternity leave then, and I'm going to go through summer. And I also told her that I'm not coming back the next year because I want to be home to raise the baby. Because it was a great school, but it was a small private school, and the pay wasn't the best. It was fine enough for me, and it was fine enough as a married couple with no kids, but it wasn't enough to pay for daycare. And so if I was still teaching there and paying daycare, we'd be like in the hole. So I'd rather just stay home with her. Plus, I want to be home to raise my kids if possible. So I told her that when the baby came, middle of May, I would end. School ended right around Memorial Day. So I'd miss like 2 weeks of school. No big deal. And then I would just take the summer off. So that was kind of fun. What was come on with that one is that I let the kids kind of name my baby, give us name suggestions, and I had a tree out on the bulletin board so that they could put their suggestions and the parents can put their suggestions that says, "It's a girl. Other than that, go for it." So it just need to be a girl name. And a lot of the kids were copying names in that classroom and the other classrooms. But one of the students in particular, I laugh at this one. She was adamant that I had to name my daughter Unicorn Petunia. Not just Petunia, because that's kind of cute. No, first names has to be Unicorn. I'm like, okay, well, if you can spell it, write it down. We'll stick it on the tree. Needless to say, we did not name our daughter Unicorn Petunia, but we still joke about it. And later on at the baby shower that the class held for me, she actually brought in some unicorn pajamas. So it's kind of a fun little memory of like, so that was kind of fun. Uh, the hardest part for me, there is a difficulty with this pregnancy. The hardest part for me was saying goodbye to my kindergarten kids because I didn't know when the baby was going to come in May. They say the first baby is often late, and that's what my subs were counting on. Some of the other teachers in the small school were going to step in as my subs for the last 2 weeks of school, ish. And my water broke a week early. So on 39 weeks on a Friday afternoon, uh, during school, the kids had earned a movie at that point. It was, the last month of school. So they were watching a movie, and my mom was there, and I had an assistant there, and I kept going to the bathroom, like, okay, I keep leaking. Like, I just went like 2 minutes ago. I know pregnant ladies have to go a lot, but like, why am I still leaking? And I'm like, I wonder if my water's breaking, like the slow leak water breaking. So I whispered to my mom, like, I think my water's breaking. She goes, why don't you go quietly to your classroom, into your classroom and call the nurse? And so I called the nurse, and no contractions had happened yet. She goes, okay, go home, wait till it gets started, and then come in the hospital later on. So this was like 2:15 in the afternoon. School gets out at 3. I'm like, I'll just finish the day. No contractions yet. Brought the kids back to my room. Of course, it had to be the day that I wore light khakis to school. So thankfully, I had been lazy over the months, and I would come to school with a sweater, and then it would get hot, and I would leave it in my classroom. So I had a stack full of sweaters that I like accidentally left in the classroom over the last month. So I wrapped one around the front and run around the back, and I had my assistant dismiss the kids, and I just got off to the side in the room, just waved goodbye to the kids. I didn't want to tell them, I didn't want to alert them. I mean, they're 5 and 6 years old. I didn't want to say anything to them. Some of the parents kind of could figure it out, but not really. I just didn't want to make a big deal about it. But then after all the kids left, I called my principal and said, guess what? My water broke. Baby's coming this weekend, guaranteed, because it's Friday afternoon. So the subs are on for Monday. So that's what happened. So she was actually born in the single digits of May. So I missed 3 weeks of school. The hardest part for me was not actually really getting to say goodbye to my kids, because at that point, when I left that day and I grabbed my last few boxes of stuff, I was really hoping for one more week in the classroom to gather everything I needed. I I had tried to be out of my classroom by the end of April, like all of my stuff gone, and just have bare minimum for it, because I knew that I was done teaching after that. So I had been going through my classroom for months and saying, okay, what's going to stay for the next teacher who's already been a veteran teacher? They don't need much. And what can I take with me? The principal says, take with you whatever you want to take with you. It's your stuff. Like everything you bought, take. And so I was going through the classroom. So I was hoping for one more week to go through the last few things, take a few more boxes home. So I had to scramble that afternoon, with my mom, and we moved a lot of things to the car, and then like, okay, I'll come back after the baby's born to get, whatever. But I did feel like I was kicked out of my classroom and I was not allowed to come back into it, which was hard to not be able to really come back and say goodbye to the kids. I was able to visit one time with the baby, and I came to recess, and so they could all kind of hover around and see the baby girl that they've been celebrating all school year long. But I had to ask special permission to come to the kindergarten graduation and actually present the diploma to my kindergartners. I was at first not allowed to do that because I was no longer a teacher there. I'm like, it's 3 weeks. Like, I was their teacher the entire school year. I missed the last 3 weeks because of the baby. How come I cannot be on stage and give the diploma to my students? I did not understand that. I I was able to convince them that I should be able to go up there after the music program was over and do that so that the parents could have me in there for pictures instead of the subs. And I felt kicked out of a lot of things. Still a little bit emotional about that. And I don't think that I should be able to kicked out. I mean, I understand it now became the subs classroom, but I did feel that they tried to help me too much. Sorry. And I was working on some memory books for the kids, and I was almost done with them. I had the covers on my computer, and I was going to send the files off. And somebody decided, oh, she's not the teacher anymore. We can't bother her with anything. We'll just do it for her. We don't care that she spent months on this. We're not even going to bother with an email to say, hey, do you have the files for us to print? They just went ahead and did something. So when I was gathering some last box, I went ahead and just printed them for them. Go, here you go. Here's what I've been working on. Here's their height chart. Here's their cover with their picture on it. Here it is how I want to present it to them. And they didn't like that I did that. I'm like, you could have just asked. Like, was an hour away at finishing it. Why did you give yourself 10 hours of work when you could just emailed me and say, hey, do you have it? And that was really hard. And I didn't know who to talk to kind of behind the scenes. It was, yeah, I agree, Kelly. I loved the people there, but that last 3 weeks is not right how they treated me. And I had to, I still have to get over it a little bit. If I had known that it was for sure, okay, end of April, you are no longer the teacher, I would have made sure everything was done by then. Like, I know my principal said I need to have it done by the end of April, and I didn't quite make that deadline. But I thought, hey, I'm home. I have an hour. She's napping. I can finish this real quick and send it off to them. I can help them. And they didn't want my help. I'm like, so that was hard. That's still kind of a touchy difficulty for me. Whew. Okay, moving on because I don't want to cry anymore. Uh, Went and taught with VIP Kid that summer. Um, let's see what Kelly says. Note to all women: never tell them you're leaving until after the baby comes. Uh, yeah, well, I wanted them to be prepared. I wanted them to know that I wasn't coming back next year so they could plan for a new teacher in the fall. And I wanted them to be able to have subs lined up because I knew I was going to be missing some school. If the due date's May 13th and the end of school year's May 30th, there's no way baby's going to be that late. So they need to know. And so I needed to learn for next time if it ever happened again, even though it probably won't ever happen to that school again, because I was the only teacher that was of like childbearing age, really, in that school. So it really wasn't going to happen in that school again. Uh, but if it ever happened to me again, I was better prepared for how I needed to communicate with my principal, what I needed from them, and how to orchestrate all that. With online teaching is a little different because you didn't have to like communicate then, um, you know, you just have to communicate with the company, say, I want some weeks off. Back to Cindy. Since I'm on school board, I get that teachers only want to be paid for the hours they work, and the establishment always worried about liability for hours worked and not paid. It's definitely different. Yeah, I was a salary teacher, so it didn't matter how long I stayed after school. It didn't matter how much work I put at home. I was paid the same every month. So it's up to me if I wanted to use unpaid time or not. And I often stayed in my classroom for an hour or two after class just so I could get things done. Uh, so to me, I wasn't worried about it, but I never thought about the legal part of it. It may have been totally legal activity on their part they did pay me all of my vacation time. They paid me, they were really nice and paid me my full salary for that month, even though I was missing 3 weeks. They found a way to pay for that. But I didn't realize that that also meant severing ties with them, that I was not allowed to walk back in the building. I was not allowed to come, like I could come and watch the music program that I designed and I taught to the kids and made sure the other teachers knew what to do. And I knew I wasn't able to come and conduct it. That I was okay with that, but I wasn't okay with not being able to come on stage for the last 5 minutes to give out the diploma, because I was their teacher. And there were other teachers who had to take off medical leave for cancer, and they were gone for a lot longer in previous school years, but they still got to go up and give out their diplomas because they came back to the school by the end of the school year. So I'm like, I was taking 3 weeks off of the entire school year. I mean, people take vacations off, but they still get to participate. So I didn't get it. Was a small private school, so they don't have to have all the legalities of a public school, so to speak. So they didn't explain to me why I couldn't come back. That was the hard part. Okay, so fast forward 3.5 years. Uh, we're moving on. Moving on. I was pregnant with my second one, another girl, and she was due in September. So, thankfully at the time I was not a school teacher because missing the first month of school is the hard part. She's born late September. So, if I was a school teacher, I possibly could have done the first, few weeks of school, get them established, and then be gone for months or not. So I was really glad that I was an online teacher at the time and I was with a VIP Kid. And so my plan was to save up for my own maternity leave because when you teach online, you teach, you get the money for teaching. That's it. There's no extra money coming in. If you don't work, you don't get paid. So I knew I wanted to take at least 2 weeks off completely after the baby came. And I was working 4 hours a day, 4 hours every morning. I was doing 4 to 8 a.m. every morning with VIP Kid. the time. And so I knew I'd taken all of those off. And then when I came back, I'd want to do like an hour, then maybe a half hour break, and then another hour and like half hour break. So I'd work like 2 hours every morning with some breaks just in case baby woke up. So I was going to go halftime for a while and then slowly work up to 3 and slowly work up to 4. So I figured out money wise how much money I was getting doing 4 hours a day, 5, 6 days a week to know how much I have to save up for. And so the summer before, I worked a ton of hours. Normally, I worked 6 days a week and took Sundays off. But for about 3 or 4 months prior to birth, I worked every Sunday, and that money got put into savings. I worked um, every Friday, Saturday evening, and those went off into savings. I it was summertime when VIP Kid was big and people were taking classes every morning in China. So I could work every evening. So every evening, or at least 5 days a week, I was working for 2 hours every night, and that went off to savings. So I really upped my hours and I worked extra hard for about 2 or 3 months before the birth so that I could afford to take off maternity leave and we could dig out of savings at least 1 to 2 months worth of income, of my income. So that was uh, our strategy then. And that did help. And I do wish I took more than 2 weeks off because I was exhausted and newborns don't really have a schedule. So I would go in and I would start at 4 a.m. So, at that time, my nights were in half. Like I would sleep for about 4 hours and then I'd work for 4 hours of that 8 hour night. And I was enjoying having the sleep and then feed her and then sleep again. So when I went back to teaching, I slept for 4 hours. I fed her, or I dream fed her. I made sure her tummy was full, and then I taught for an hour, and then I took a break, and then an hour, that hour. And sometimes she woke up, sometimes she didn't wake up. So it kind of worked. But I did miss having that sleep because during the daytime, there's really no time to sleep with a newborn. I mean, you try to, but I also had a 3.5-year-old who had stopped napping. So that was kind of hard. He's like, there goes my sleep. But I did have to uh, come back and get back to work. And I slowly worked my way back up to 3, 4 hours a day, and going into about a year after I started. Um, Real quick, Teacher Casey has a salary teacher as well, and it's so easy for salary teachers to stay after school and work on the weekends and stuff. I mean, it's unpaid time, but you can't always help it. Yeah. Okay. So now let's fast forward another 3 years. Um, Now I'm pregnant again with my third, and I am getting close to the due date on this one. You guys want to see? You guys want to see? Look at this. Today is 39 weeks, so baby could come at any time. Eek. And this time we decided to not find out the gender. We did find out with the other two, so the other two are girls. But this one, we don't know. So next week or the week after, after baby comes, I will tell you guys if it's a boy or a girl. I won't tell you too many details. I don't like to put names out there of my kids if I can help it. But I will tell you the gender. And so this one has been a little bit different because VIP Kid is not in its heyday like it used to be. So I'm teaching with other companies now. I've been teaching with OutSchool. I've been teaching with Tutor ABC in the morning. And I'm going to take both of those off. I was able to bring in some good money this summer with some different pods and some different organization things, but July was a very low month for me, so we don't have as much saved up. So we're just going to have to make it work. I'm taking the rest of August off of OutSchool, and I'll come back in September. I told my students that this week will be my last week of teaching there, and they can stay enrolled in the class. I'm just closing down the next 3 weeks and keeping September through December open so they can stay there. What's nice about OutSchool is that if you don't have that week scheduled, the parents are not charged on Sunday. So they can stay there and they can keep their spot there. They're just not charged until you have a scheduled section that week. So that's kind of nice. Now, if I lose a few, I lose a few, and later on I'll gain a few. And September school will start up again for many of them, and they can get into a routine of coming back and doing some math games and science experiments and stuff. Uh, you can see, yeah, I can't wait to find out either. We could either be a family of girls, 3 girls, or we could a family of 2 girls and a boy. I mean, those are really our only options. But yeah, I can't wait to find out either. It's going to come sooner than we think. Am I ready for another crying newborn? No. I mean, I'm ready for my body to kind of stop hurting, after I heal from labor. Yeah. There's always that part, but I can't wait to where I can actually roll out of bed without going, ow. But am I ready for the crying newborn and up all night and feeding all day and spending so much time on the couch nursing? I'll be okay. And this time I have 2 older kids helping out. So now my kids are 6 and then almost 3. My middle one will turn 3 end of September. So she'll be 3 in about close to 2 months. So like a month after baby's born, a month and a half after baby's born, she'll turn 3. So they'll be my helpers. And I'm sure they'll be fantastic helpers. My oldest will be gone at school all day in first grade. So for many hours of the day, it'll be me at home with a baby and a 3-year-old because my husband will be off at the school as well teaching. So that's gonna be fun. And this time my 3-year-old is very needy and loves to be hugged, and I love her hugs and snuggles, but she'll have to learn that sometimes mommy's hands are gonna be full with the baby, and I can't carry both of them. Even right now, it's hard to carry her because I got a big baby bump, and sometimes my back can't do it. Even though she's light, it does feel heavy after a while. Okay, so that is my story of some difficulties while being pregnant and afterwards trying to get back into teaching. We'll see how this one is. I wish I could take more time off to do it, but with a move that we just did a month ago, and you can see past videos, we just moved 1,700 miles. We moved from Idaho to Texas a month ago, and moving is expensive. So a lot of our baby fund kind of went to moving fund. A fun fact, I've moved with all my pregnancies. Yay! With the first one, I moved out of my classroom and we decided to move out of Oregon and move to Idaho. But we made the choice to move after the baby was born. So all pregnancy, I was packing up my house, I was packing up my classroom, and we still had to do some packing afterwards. And then we moved. It was an 8-hour trip that took us 12 hours because we were traveling with a newborn who had to eat every 2 to 3 hours. And she was not a very good nurser. So it took like an hour every time we tried to nurse her, and the pumping and the bottle feeding. And, it was a mess. But my parents were there to help me with that one. So that was good, or help us. So that was good. Baby number 2, I was about 8 weeks pregnant, so still in that first trimester yuckiness. And we came back home from the park and we saw a note on our door. It says, "We are selling this apartment and we're renovating it. You have 30 days to leave." Yeah, and that's legal because it's 30 days. So we were given the choice if we can either stay in the same apartment complex and move to a newly renovated unit with new carpeting and new appliances for $300 more per month for the same square footage, or we can go somewhere else. We decided let's look somewhere else. And so we were able to find a place that was a bigger place. It wasn't a 2-bedroom apartment anymore. It was a 3-bedroom house, and it was $200 more than what we were paying. So it was still cheaper than staying in that place, but it still meant moving. And in like 30 days, we have to pack our stuff up. We don't know where we're going yet, but we still have to pack our house up. We have to get out. And we have to do storage if we need to. Like, we'll figure something out, but 30 days isn't that long to find a place and pack up and move in first trimester yuckiness. I had a lot of friends who came over to help pack boxes of books and stuff because I had no energy. There's like nothing, no energy. And then baby number 3, we moved in the middle of the pregnancy. So in the second trimester, packing up the house, getting ready to go, and we made the trek, the long 4-day trip at 34 weeks pregnant. So that was the, I guess, third trimester at that time. So I have packed up and moved during slash after all three pregnancies. I was really hoping for one kid where I could just kind of stay put. um, this one had the extra thing of finding a new doctor because it was in the middle. The other ones, with the first one moving after the birth, I made sure I stayed long enough to do that post labor check for me, the first 2 months for the baby, and then we moved. The second one, we moved in the same town. So we just moved like down the road, maybe 5 miles. So I was able to keep the same doctor. In fact, I really hadn't seen the doctor yet because I was so early on in my pregnancy, so that we moved and then we found the doctor. So there's uh, no worries there. But this one, when you move to a new state, you got to find a new doctor because it's just too far. So that was fun. Uh, Teacher Casey, I just realized I moved with both of mine as well. I know it must be a thing. I don't know. And Teacher Kelly moved right after my daughter was born. Yep, yep. And I can see how my mom had to do it. My youngest sister was also 2 months old when they moved us from California to Idaho. I'm like, "Mom, how'd you do that?" I mean, I was 9 at the time. I was like, "I'll help you, Mom," but I'm only 9. So it's different than when you're the mom. Like, "How did you do this, Mom?" With 3 other kids too. I mean, for me, it was my first, and I had her helping me pack, and then later on I had, my mother-in-law come and help us pack. Um, so, it was good to have the help because without the help, there's, like, no motivation to keep packing. Okay, let's go back to teacher stuff. The teachers in my community are salary. However, they have an agreement that they don't work overtime. Only 7 hours, 10 minutes for elementary, or else they get extra money. Oh, that's interesting. So you have to work within the contract hours and you're not allowed to work afterwards. Interesting. Huh. So you can't stay after your classroom to tidy up afterwards. I mean, I know you want to get out of there as fast as you can. Um, when I taught at private schools, I worked many hours after school. I know it's so easy to stick around and piddle around and slowly work on things. And I really tried not to bring things home on weekends, but sometimes I'm like, oh, I just want to finish these covers, and so I'll just work on the computer, or I'll just kind of type a few notes here or there. But I really try to, when I left the school building, to like leave school. And I got better as I progressed, because I taught kindergarten for 5 years. So the first year I was there a lot because I had a lot of learning to do and prepping to do. But by year 5, I'm like, I've taught this before, the same curriculum before. I know what I'm doing. I don't have to stay after as longer, but I did stay after a lot to pack. And I don't know if that counts as working overtime, but I try to pack my stuff during the classroom, but I was also teaching during the class hours. So I needed time to like go through each cupboard and sort through them. And so I was never there weekends, but I was always there after school, boxing things up and going through things and going, okay, I've got this huge file cabinet of papers. I can't take them all with me. Let's go through each file. We'll take one page for a master and recycle the rest. So I left, instead of having, huge cabinet fulls of stuff, I bring it down to one box of masters that I can make copies later on. Like, why have a class set of 30 when you can just make 30 later on if you need them? Just keep the master copies in case I ever go back to teaching. I'll have, access to these resources that I inherited. But so yeah, my last year I was after school a lot doing that. And I didn't care I wasn't paid for it. I wanted to take my stuff with me. Okay, guys, this is gonna be like my longest live in a long time. So I'm gonna go now. But if you have any questions or comments about or stories about being pregnant while teaching or being pregnant while moving, because both happened to me, and it sounds like it happened to a lot of people too, please let me know in the comments below. What are some difficulties that you experienced in teaching or while being pregnant? Because we're talking about that right now. Let me know. Uh, Bye, Teacher Kelly. And Cindy, head over to my channel for my tech video. Yeah, that's coming up really soon. So if you get a chance, go to Cindy Bennett. Look her up. I'll put her link in the description box below in a minute. So if you're watching the replay, head over there too. She's going to talk about her favorite teacher tech. So that's fun. I can't wait to see what she says. I think I have my teacher tech video up, or I will have my teacher tech video up. I don't know. But yesterday I did talk about ManyCam in the classroom. So you can head over to that one that I did yesterday talking about how I use ManyCam, which is what I'm using right now, and how I showed you that's me with my firstborn. And those are my two girls right now. And so we're going to add number 3 to the pile really soon. So I'll see you guys tomorrow, the next day, to talk about my next video. Tomorrow, Cindy's going to talk about her difficulty video. Oh, I wonder what she's going to talk about. Every teacher has a different difficulty. Can't wait to hear it. Bye, Teacher Casey. She did one on about how to transfer from brick and mortar to online. And that was a really good one because sometimes making that transition is difficult. So you can head over there and see what she said about it. Oh, so beautiful. Oh, thank you. I know that actually turned out really well. I want to go back to that park someday. The beautiful picture of this one. Oh, I remember that day. Okay. Let's see here. I loved your ManyCam one. New techniques for me to try. I know I'm always learning new things from other people or just kind of experimenting on my own. Yeah. And I love seeing how you change your borders all the time, Cindy, on your channel. So that's cool. Okay. Yes, please thumbs up the live. Okay, guys, I will see you all later. Have a wonderful day. Bye.